Hey, it's Terry from Tough Dad Creations. With snow on the ground here in Texas, something you don't see every day. Headed out to the shop. Love this weather. Get to wear my beanie caps and flannel jackets. While it was snowing and sleeting last night, I did a little design work. Made a design of a Texas shape. I was I've done it before, doing a mandala design on a shape. I did my welcome home sign for a few years ago, and then I've done a few others by hand. The process that I had used in the past, though, was very time consuming. I knew there was an easier way of doing it. I just didn't have the time or desire to figure out how to do it. And so with the cold weather, I had some time to play around with it last night, and I figured out how to do it. A lot easier, a lot quicker. So I'm gonna start doing some designs. Since we had freezing weather last night, I'm out here checking my machines, make sure nothing froze up. I do have a heater out here, right there in the corner. Says it's at 44 degrees in here. As long as it stays above freezing. I probably should put a second one out here. I've been wanting to take and insulate this shop since I moved here, and actually have a roll of insulations, just finding the time to put it in. If I have time, I'd much rather be doing about 600 other things. So I've kind of put it on my to-do one of these days list. Meanwhile, the insulation's probably going bad in there. But I do plan on doing that here pretty soon. At least, I don't know if it's enough to do the whole shop, but at least get it started. In the summertime, it gets pretty hot. Especially the top of the roof, you can feel the heat. All the cold air just comes out of here. You got to keep the machines cool in the summertime so they don't overheat. This is a chiller. It keeps the water that runs through the lasers at a certain temperature chilled. But the hotter it is in here, the more that thing has to work. And I've already burnt one of them up. That thing's about $500. So kind of want to keep your temperatures at a good temperature outside the machines so that can run and not make it work harder. Just like you don't want to run an AC in your house and leave the windows and doors open. So I have a 1 unit window unit AC in here, but it runs during the summertime when I have my machines on out here, and the AC just goes right through the walls. So it needs to be done before it gets hot. And then likewise in the wintertime, I got the heater in here, and you can barely tell. So anyway, that's not what I'm out here today to do. I'm going to cut out this design of the Texas that I did. Let's see what I have for material down here. There's where I stack my material. See some things I've cut out. Down to my last 2 sheets. It's time for a material run. So these panelings, they come with a sticker on the back. That's just I use the back side of the paneling for my design, so I'll heat it up with the little heat gun here, and then that sticker come off, and then I'll do a light sand on it. And I'll be able to cut the Texas out of this paneling. So I asked the wife if she wanted something else to hang on the wall. She said yeah, so she picked out a space and measured it, and want it to be at least 15-16 inches wide, tall. To do that, I got the shapes turned on the computer, and I can basically get, this is 8 layers. I can basically get 4 layers to a sheet. Give me a second, and once I get this all set up, I'll check back in with you. All right, so here we are. There's my design. As you can see, I got 4 big pieces, 2 little pieces, 4 big pieces, 2 little pieces, and that gets all 8 pieces of the big one and half the little one, and then these are I'll put on a scrap piece. So this is the first design. I went ahead and threw it in and started it, and I got that big ass burn mark. That was because I had done a laser. I forgot I had done a project that was a thick piece of wood, so I had my laser table down and it was out of focus. So these things have to be at a certain height. I have a little stack of my easy peasy loaders that this is the height for the optimal cut distance. So I'll put this down on the material and bring my laser down to it, and that gives me that height right there, which I already did when I wasn't having to hold the camera. So now we're at the right height, but that little mark is going to look really bad on my Texas. So if you look on my design down here, let's take and center this on our work table. Down in this bottom corner down here, right there, there's a big open spot where nothing's going to cut. So what I'm going to do is take my material here and just flip it around. Now our burn mark's in this corner, and it shouldn't affect it. Alrighty, got it all. And then, you know, they say measure twice, cut once. With this, you want to check your settings twice. So I had it at a speed of 5 with 90 power. My other machine, the tube is going out, so I use the same program for both machines. But to cut the plastic, I do it real slow at 5 speed and 90 power because that tube needs to be replaced. Once it gets to where it won't cut through at 90% power, 100 really ain't going to make a whole lot of difference, but it's time to replace it. I already got another tube ready to go. I'm just trying to get the most life out of my tube. Wait till it totally stops cutting before I replace it. It takes me about an hour to 2 hours to get it replaced and recenter and realign my machine. So it's kind of a to-do. It's on that list of things that I really don't care to do anytime soon. So anyway, with this, that speed is way too slow. We're gonna do about 14 speed. I probably could do, well, 15's good. I could probably go up to 17 or 18, but and then I usually set my machine at 10% of what it is. This is a 100-watt machine. I try to keep it under 60. 50 probably would be 50% of the power of your machine is probably where you want to keep it. I do it at 60 so I can run it a little bit faster speed wise. Probably a little overkill. So that was the other reason we got this big ugly black mark. It was going really slow, really high temp, and it just burnt the material all around it. Once the machine starts, I can also adjust the speed if I see that it has too much overburn. So I'll select my object again, hit start, it sends it to the machine. As you can see, or can't see, focusing issue here. Let's zoom out. Yeah, those lines are still a little bit overburnt. I kind of like the overburn. I can either lower my power slightly or speed it up a little bit. I could also adjust my minimum burn, which was for when it gets to like corners. It kind of pauses to turn directions, which would also clean up the overburn. But like I said, I like it. For certain projects, you don't want it on there. If you're going to sand the top, it just gives you less sanding you have to do. But I think when it glues together, the overburn kind of looks good on it. This particular piece, the wife didn't want to paint it, so it'll just give it a little more depth and make it look a little more 3D-ish with the overburn. So we'll let that thing do its job. Headed back out to check on the Texas cutouts. Thing I like about Texas snow is if you don't like it, wait a few hours and it'll all be melted. Beautiful day out. Alrighty. So here's the second cutout. Take the pieces and break them up. Throw them in my little trash can here. That thing fills up pretty quick, and then we're left with all our pieces in here. All right, so there's a piece. Sometimes I can just tap them on something. Most of the pieces fall out, but we'll have to go in there and take all these pieces that didn't come out and poke them through into the trash. Now there was one piece that got messed up in the last bunch, so I'm gonna have to cut that separately. But pretty much this is what the design will look like. Once it's all put together. So, and then I have a smaller version too. I'll go through the same process with. So I just kind of tap it on the trash can, and most of the pieces fall through, especially on the outermost pieces. Oh, I had one more piece to the big one. I had one more piece, one more layer. Those little round pieces there, that was the last layer I forgot to put up there. So once I get that all cleaned up and glued together, it's looked quite nicely. That's about how thick it is. Like I said, it has one more layer, and you really can't tell. I could leave it out technically, but I would know it's missing. And I'll use one of my scrap pieces to cut it out here. So this one here is 16 inches by 15 inches, and it is right at 1 inch. It'll be 1 inch thick when I get the other layer that was messed up put back in there. I'll show you. So basically, when I went back to cut the other layer, my board shifted, and it's not very much, but you can see where it has a double cut line on the edge. Well, that's gonna come off, and it'll be slightly that much smaller on two sides of it, and I just prefer to cut it over so it's perfect. It's a perfect fit. I don't want it looking awkward. So that took about 48 minutes per sheet. Taking consideration that we cut out two of the smaller design, along with the two of the big, or four of the big designs on each sheet. So 48 minutes. Probably without the little ones, we could have got it done in about 30 or 40 minutes. Times that by 2. You're looking at probably an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half to cut out 2 full sheets for the big ones. Not too bad. The small ones I could probably cut out all together. It would take probably be about 45 minutes to an hour to cut the small one out all in one cut, which I'll probably do later. I like to make it as big as I can on one sheet, cut out all the parts, and then those are my base sizes that I usually charge 50-60 bucks for, unpainted. It's the easiest. I could just put one sheet in there, hit start, go do something else, come back, it's all cut out, glued it all together. It usually takes about an hour to cut, 20 to 30 minutes to glue together, and I can charge 60 bucks for it. Once I get these all put together, I'm going to post them on my Etsy. After you're done cutting each section out, you're left with all these pieces. What I do is I try to grab the biggest pieces out. I'll throw them in my trash can. Then I have a shop vac here. Makes cleanup a little bit quicker and easier. And then I'm ready to put in my next piece. And we'll cut that one piece out and then take it inside and start my glue up process. So